Hot flushes, night sweats, joint ache or joint pains, irritability, low mood, brain fog. These are all symptoms that many of us fight every single day. And of course, it's the menopause. So let's talk about it. Hello and welcome to Wellness with IJ. My name is Ijoma Igwe and I'm a 55-year-old mother of four. I'm also a pharmacist living in the north of Texas. So let's talk about menopause. As I mentioned earlier on, these are all symptoms that many of us struggle with on a daily basis. And a lot of the time, this can happen over a prolonged period of time. Because we're all different, we experience these symptoms in totally different ways and over different periods of time. So, what causes menopause? In a woman's life, in order for us to reproduce, our ovaries produce two hormones that help us ovulate and maintain pregnancy. The first hormone is the estrogen, and then we have the progesterone. And what happens typically as you approach menopause is that as you age, the ovaries begin to slow down in their ability to make these hormones. And of course, because they're not making the hormones as efficiently as they were, because we're getting older, you will begin to experience symptoms of the lowering of the levels of these two hormones. So as you get older, your ovaries get older, and so they're not efficient anymore. They're not producing these two hormones, the estrogen and the progesterone, at the same level as before when you were younger. And of course, this irregularity or this lowering of the levels of the hormones will result in you not ovulating in the way that you would normally ovulate. So your period or your cycle, which obviously is when you release your egg and it travels down the tubes and it waits for fertilization. If it gets fertilized, it gets implanted. And if it doesn't get implanted, you have a period. So this whole process will change because your ovaries are not able to produce these hormones in the same way that they were before you were perhaps getting to 40 years old. So this is what causes the problems or the symptoms that we experience as we approach menopause. So now that we have that out of the way, that menopause is triggered by a lowering in the levels of these two hormones that help us reproduce because of the fact that the ovaries are getting older. Now, menopause is in three stages. We have the perimenopause, the menopause, and the postmenopause. And the difference is that the perimenopause is a period before the menopause, and this begins towards the end of your 30s, let's say 38 or 39. Like I said, these periods can vary with different people. And at this age, this is when the ovaries begin to be less efficient. So at first, it might just be that your cycles will become shorter. Let's say if you're a 28-day on the clock person, that you get your period every 28 days, you will notice that the 28 days might become 25 days. And so you're having your periods more often than before. And this reduction in the hormones is not drastic. It doesn't kind of drop overnight. It's very gradual. So at the beginning, as the hormonal levels come down, you will begin to notice that your periods are not regular, for instance. And then as time goes on, they might even stop, or you begin to miss the periods where you might miss 2 months and then it will start again on the third month. So this is when you notice that something is not as it used to be, or it's not quite right. And of course, because of the fact that the hormones are no longer at the same levels as they were, you will begin to feel these symptoms. This period of perimenopause can vary with individuals. It just depends on your makeup or genetic makeup. Maybe if your mother experienced the perimenopausal stage over a short period of time, it might be the same for you, or it might not. But just remember that this period can vary with people. Like I said, 5 years, 10 years, it just depends. One other important factor to remember is that during this period of perimenopause, as long as your periods are still coming, as long as your period is still appearing or reappearing after a month or two of your missed period, the chances that you could become pregnant is real. And so please, until your doctor tells you that you have actually reached menopause, make sure that you're taking precaution. Make sure that whatever method that you're using for contraception, that you continue to do that, because the fact that you're not getting your periods on a regular basis, really what it means is that you don't know where you are with your cycle. And so you'll be taking chances if you don't take precautions during the period of perimenopause. So just remember that it can vary with people, and the possibility of becoming pregnant is real. Now, moving along to the menopause, you are said to have reached menopause when you have not had any period for 12 months. So if you have your periods irregular or regular, it doesn't matter. But you will have reached menopause if you have not had any periods at all for 12 months. Only after then will your doctor tell you that you're in menopause. There are some tests that the doctor might do in order to confirm that you're in menopause. But generally, the understanding is that if you have not had any periods for 12 months, you are now technically in menopause. And what that means is that your ovaries have eventually stopped producing estrogen and progesterone. So this period of menopause, or this menopausal stage, where you've been diagnosed or whether you have been told, informed that you're in menopause, is the only part that is defined. So it's either that you haven't reached your menopause or that you have reached menopause, because the definition of it is very clear. If you have not had any periods for a year, then you're in menopause. So that's a middle stage. The other stage is the post-menopause, which is the time after you have reached menopause. And typically, this is when you really begin to notice the symptoms of menopause. Because remember, in perimenopause, you just had a reduction or a lowering of your levels. In post-menopause, it means that you're pretty much not producing any of these hormones. So, of course, the symptoms are going to be much more severe and much more noticeable. So, let's say, for example, if you were having hot flushes during your perimenopausal stage, perhaps it would be every now and then, or maybe twice in a week. If you're monitoring it, you will find that once you have reached menopause, and often this is one of the signs that things have actually progressed, is when the symptoms become more frequent. So you're flushing every night, you're not sleeping, you're feeling warmer when you're supposed to be cold. For instance, maybe it's during the winter and you're feeling hot. So this marks the beginning of the final stage of menopause, which is the postmenopause. And this is when all those things that we worry about, all those symptoms, side effects that we worry about with regards to menopause, this is when they begin to surface. And at the beginning, there are certain symptoms you will begin to notice at the beginning, and there are some that you probably won't notice until later on. So we'll go into that during the next session. Have you gone through menopause? Have you been informed that you're in menopause? Please share with us in the comment section and tell us what you experienced and what you think. And maybe if you have any ideas as to how other people can benefit from your knowledge, please share in the comment section. And I will see you again in the next video. You take care. Goodbye.